welcome to a new episode of the Bobbles Berries Podcast. Happy New Year! Can we still say this? We can probably still say this. I hope you had a really lovely end of 2025, that you had a lovely Christmas if you celebrated, or a lovely, nice and quiet time if you were able to take some time off from work maybe, or something like that. I had a nice break, which was very much needed. I don't think I took a lot of time off in 2025, and I could definitely feel it. By the end of the year, I really needed a bit of a break, and so I did take a good 2 to 3 week break from work and everything. We didn't really go anywhere for Christmas. We just had a nice, quiet Christmas at home. And yeah, it was really what I needed. So I'm glad I was able to do that. And now I feel refreshed. It's the new year. I am back at work and I feel like I have that kind of energy again. And so I'm really excited to finally record a podcast again, because it's been a little while, which I feel is what I say when I start every new episode. But yeah, I have a standard episode for you today. Because it's been a little while, I have quite a few things to show you. I have a few finished objects. I'm out of practice. I have a few works in progress as well. And then I will talk about the books that I'm reading, which I completely forgot to talk about in my last episode. It completely slipped my mind. So yeah, sorry about that. And then at the end, I will just share some news. If you follow me on Instagram, or if you are subscribed to my newsletter, you will know that I am in the process of changing jobs and changing career. And obviously that affects my shop, which is what I've been doing full time for the past few years. And so I just want to touch on that at the end of the episode, just to explain a bit what's going on and what to expect. But I know that a lot of you are just here for the knitting, which is more than fair. So I will start with the knitting and with my finished objects, which is also what I'm wearing. I mean, one of them is what I'm wearing. I'm not wearing them all. So yeah, I'm going to start with what I'm wearing, which is my first finished object, like I said, and this is my Lento sweater by Jonna, Hietala, I think. It is a pattern that was in Lento magazine. I want to say episode, it's not episode, issue 11. So I think it's maybe from 2020 or 2021. It's a few years old now, but it is a really nice pattern. It's the second time that I'm making it, and it's just your very basic raglan sweater. So I'm gonna stand up so you can have a look, and then I'll talk to you about it in more detail. So this is what it looks like. Like I said, it's your very basic raglan sweater, knit in the round all the way through, like really nice and mindless. And yeah, I think I was knitting on it the last time. I hadn't finished, but obviously now I have. And I'm super happy with it. It's exactly what I wanted from it. And it allowed me to use a cone of red yarn that I'd had in my stash for a few years, and I just couldn't figure out what to do with it. It was a cone of Iona wool, Aran weight, and I think I had 500 grams, so about 800 meters, and which is enough, but also for a lot of patterns that are Aran weight, is like, for my size anyway, it's just like borderline enough. And so there's a lot of patterns that if I'd wanted to do those, I would have taken like a risk to run out of yarn. And at the time that I cast this on, this is definitely not something that I wanted to deal with. I just wanted something easy and something mindless. And yeah, so I chose this pattern. I've made one before in different yarn, and I wear it all the time, so I know that I like it, I know that it fits me, and yeah, that's what I decided to do. So like I said, it's the Lento sweater. I am making mine in size 2. It's just as per pattern recommendations. I didn't really fiddle with anything. And the wool that I'm using, the yarn that I used, is, like I said, that cone of Iona wool, which is wool. It's a blend of wool from the sheep that live on the Isle of Iona, which is in the islands of Scotland on the west coast. And this is in the colorway Post Red. And then I'm holding it double with, I just have my notes to the side, with Isair silk mohair in the shade 32. And so this is what it looks like. What I really liked about this combination is that the wool, the Iona wool, was like a nice postbox red, like the British postbox is. And it's a red that is quite bright and tends to go a little bit on the warmer side. And then the Isair mohair, I really struggled to find a mohair that would match my Iona wool perfectly, and I didn't. But I got the Isair one, which was slightly on the cooler side. And I think together they kind of neutralized each other and gave me like a really nice neutral red, which is what I was looking for. Let me tell you a little bit more. I didn't do, like I said, I just wanted this to be a mindless project, so I didn't make a lot of modification. But I still have a few notes. I've actually switched to writing my knitting notes into an actual journal since like December, I guess, or November, I don't remember. And I love it so much. I used to use Notion and it worked really well for a while. But then like everything in the world right now, it's just like pushing AI stuff on you, which I hate so much. I am not interested in all those AI features everywhere. I don't have a use for them, and I wish so much we could turn all that stuff off, but we can't. And to me, it's just become so bad that it's put me off using so much of the softwares that I use and the apps that I used to use. So for a lot of things, I've just gone back to a nice notebook, and I really love it. So this is my notebook. If you're into stationery, it is the Traveler's Notebook, regular size. I have the dark brown cover, and then I just have like a dotted insert, and that's it. And it works so well. I love it. So yes, so I'm going to be referring to that. My gauge was all right. So I knit the body on 6mm needles and the rib on 4mm needles. As per pattern, I got the same gauge as for the pattern. I didn't make any modifications really. I think I knit the collar a little bit less deep because it would have been like too much. I think the pattern is written for a strand of fingering weight and a strand of mohair, which makes it quite a loose gauge. Obviously, I use a strand of Ehrhart and a strand of mohair. So on the stockinette, I have the same gauge, but on the ribbing, it was a bit different. So yeah, I just knit a bit less. It's a folded collar, and I just knit a bit less than what they say, so it wouldn't be too deep. That's an easy modification to make. And then I was, towards the end, I was a little bit worried that I was going to play yarn chicken and with my cone of Iona wool. And so I decided that even though overall I kind of wanted a bit of an oversized fit, I decided that I would rather have sleeves that are the length that I want and possibly a shorter body than the other way around. So I knit it as soon as I joined in the round, I think. I knitted one of the sleeves, and then I weighed my yarn like the whole time. So I weighed my yarn when I reached the cuff, and then I weighed how much I used for the cuff. And then I did the same on the other side, and I was weighing the same in the same way. So with the two cuffs, I did have a good idea of how much yarn I would need for the ribbing and the bind off. And so I did the math to figure out how much I would need for the hem, meaning that I don't remember the stitch numbers, but let's say I had like 40 stitches around my cuff, for my cuff, and I used, doing the cuff used so much yarn. The hem is the same length, same number of rounds, but let's say I had like, I don't know, 100 and something stitches, so I just did the math. If like 40 stitches using that much, how much yarn do I need for 100 and something stitches? And then I knew how much yarn I absolutely needed for the hem. And so then I went back and I knitted the body, and regularly I would weigh my cone just to make sure that I had enough yarn for the ribbing. Like I would stop before I ran out of yarn for the ribbing, the hem at the bottom of the body. And then it worked out fine. I did it that way. In the end, I didn't run out of yarn, but I didn't have a ton left. So I'm glad that I did all the weighing of the yarn throughout the project, because otherwise I think I would have been worried the whole time, and it would have taken away from the enjoyment of knitting this project. So yeah, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. I think it may be some mohair or the beginning of allergies for some reason, but yeah, so anyway, I feel like I'm going to sneeze and it's not coming, and it's very frustrating. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. It's really nice, it's really warm, it's a really nice basic that I can wear with a lot of things. Right now I just have a t-shirt underneath, but I could also wear it with a button shirt, you know, and have the collar come over, which could look quite nice. I have it with like tartan trousers right now, but I could also wear it with jeans, or yeah, it's a really nice, really easy project. Okay, I did end up sneezing, which is why I'm maybe a bit red right now. But yeah, so that is all I have to say about my Lento sweater. Again, a very nice pattern, and probably one that I would make again, to be honest. It's just super easy. So, and yeah, because the pattern is written, even though it's written with quite a large gauge, even though it's knit in fingering weight, it means that you kind of have, like, you can play around with the yarns that you use, really. So that's quite fun that way. So yes, moving on to my second finished object, and it is a hat that I had made for my husband for, I think, our wedding anniversary, like a present for our wedding anniversary, which is at the end of November. And he really likes it. It's been worn a million times already, which is why maybe it looks like a bit weird that way. But yeah, it's been worn so much. What initiated me, my knitting this thing, was, of course, I wanted to knit him something as a present, but also I had some leftover yarn that I wanted to use and get it out of my stash. So the yarn that I used here is woolly knit, 100% British wool in the dark blue navy color. I'm holding that double, but I wanted to make the like a thick Aran version. So I'm holding this with one strand of Cos yarn, their alpaca silk, like not their Surrey silk, in a more of like a grey shade. I bought it from the Fibre Yard, which is the new yarn shop in, I mean, it's not really new anymore, I guess it opened in August, but the new West yarn shop in Edinburgh, and they didn't have the navy blue in stock anymore, but I got a dark grey one, and I think it actually makes it, like, it blends quite well and makes it a nice color. I like it, and my husband likes it. The pattern that I used for this is the basic Beanie by Tin Can Knit, and it's great. I think it's a free pattern, I believe, and it's, like it says, it's your basic beanie. Maybe, is it the basic rib beanie? It could be. It's just a basic hat pattern. You start at the bottom of the brim, and then you knit a tube basically, and then you do decreases. It's super easy. The pattern, it's also one of those very versatile patterns. So it comes in sport, fingering weight, sport weight, DK, and Aran / worsted. It comes from size-wise from newborn to adult, small, medium. So I think it's got newborn, toddler, or like maybe even newborn, baby, toddler, child, and then adult, small, medium, and large. This is a adult medium. And then you can do 1x1 rib, 2x2 rib, and then 3x1, I think. And I've made 2x2 because I kind of like the look of it. And yeah, it knit up really quickly. I don't have this in my notebook. I think from memory I knit this on 3.75. I just used whatever it said in the pattern. I didn't really gauge swatch. I didn't even check my gauge once I started anyway. It's just because it's ribbing, it's so stretchy that honestly, like, even if your gauge is a bit off, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I'd made another one before, a tiny one, the toddler size, I think, for the baby of a friend. And I'm currently knitting a 2x2 DK one for myself. And yeah, it's just such a good, it's an easy knit, it's a mindless knit, it has a million options, and it fits really well. So it's a great way to make a quick hat. It's a great way also to use that one skein or some leftovers, especially if you do smaller sizes for small people, for like kids and toddlers and babies and all that. So yeah, no, it's pretty great. I really like this pattern. Definitely worth having in your library. I believe it's free, but even if it's not, it's definitely worth like the few pounds that it would cost. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this. My husband really likes it. I think it's the first hat that I've made him. He has a very extensive hat collection that I've made for him. It's the first one that contains a fluff in it, and he really loves it. He says it's probably the warmest one that he has, but it's also quite lightweight. So yeah, he really enjoys it, enjoys wearing it. So yeah, so that is that. And then fun fact, I still have some of that yarn left over, that woolly knit yarn left over. Like too much that I would just, like too much for me to want to just throw it in the bin. So yeah, I didn't fully achieve what I was intending to do with that, but it's okay. We'll find something else to do with it. All right, next project, and I'm gonna need my notes for that. There it is. So the next project is another garment that I made for my husband. That was a Christmas present, which he received, I am very pleased to say, only about a week after Christmas. I was working on it throughout December. That's basically all I did. And this is the Zipper Sweater Man by Petite. So I think I have to stand up to show you. So this is what it looks like. I mean, you've seen zipper sweaters. And yeah, I've taken pictures of him wearing it, so if he's all right with me putting his face on YouTube, I'll pop a picture on the screen. And yeah, again, it's quite a simple stockinette pattern with the rolled neck and the zip. It is very nice and very comfy, and it was really a joy to knit. Definitely one that I would make again. I would like to make one for myself. I have the pattern for the Zipper Sweater Man. I don't know if I would buy the regular one. I think I would just use that pattern and make it for me. I would have to do a bit of research to see like what the difference is between the two patterns, but because it's such an oversized, well, it doesn't have to be an oversized sweater, but if I made it for me, I would want it to be quite oversized. So I think whatever small fit difference there might be between the two patterns probably wouldn't bother me too much, or I don't know if I would even notice it. So yeah, let me know if you've made zipper sweaters for like women and for men, and if you've used the two patterns, and if what the difference is, and if you think it's worth having the other pattern. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze again at some point, just letting you know. So yeah, so let me show you maybe up close a little bit for a second. This is what it looks like. He's rolling up his sleeve because they're quite a good length. Like they cover his hand when it's cold, but then at home he rolls them up so he has easy access to his watch. And I'll show you the inside of the zipper because it's a really nice pattern in that it has a really nice facing. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. So that the zipper is completely enclosed. You don't see it at all. Whereas last year I made the Dagmar zipper sweater, and it doesn't work that way. The zipper bit, it's like you do like bands of double knitting, and then you sew the zipper onto that. So when you open it up, you can see on the inside the fabric bit of the zipper, which isn't a problem. Like it doesn't bother me, and if it's sewn neatly, it's not at all a problem. But I kind of like the facing on the zipper sweater, and it may look a bit, I don't know, intimidating, to knit, but it's really not. It is a little bit fiddly, but it's definitely worth it. So yeah, so the yarn that I used Drops Nipal, which is a wool and alpaca blend. This is the label. I always weigh my balls of yarn when they're new, because usually they say, oh, you buy a 50-gram ball of yarn, but oftentimes you have a little bit more. And what's funny is that, so Drops Nipal come as 50-gram balls, and I bought, I think I need it for the size that I was planning to make, which is not the size that I ended up making. For the size that I was planning to make, I needed 750 grams. Because this yarn is so inexpensive, I ended up buying 800 grams, so 16 skein or balls. But because they were all slightly over 50 grams, I ended up having actually 850 grams. So it's as if I had an extra ball, which was great because it actually helped me like later on, because a few things happened with this pattern. So this pattern is supposed to be quite oversized, and my husband didn't really want that much positive ease, so he technically would have needed a size large, but we decided to go with a size medium because the chest circumference of the size medium is the same as that of some other sweaters that he's got, and that fit him well and that he likes. So I thought, let's just do one size smaller just to not have as much positive ease, and then I would play with the length where needed, so that was the original plan. It didn't work out that way, because even though I swatched and I got gauge, I think when you start knitting, especially on the bigger project with long rounds and things like that, your gauge changes a bit. And so my gauge changed while I was knitting, and it turned out that the size medium ended up being too small. Like, it had 0 ease, even maybe a little bit of negative ease, and it was just too small. And so what I ended up doing is remeasuring with my gauge, with the ease that he wanted, and I ended up at my gauge knitting the size extra large to have about the 10 centimeters of positive ease that I wanted. So yeah, which is why I was really grateful that I'd ordered an extra ball, and also, or like not grateful, but thankful, I guess, that I'd ordered an extra ball, and also that all the balls were more like 52 or 53 grams rather than 50, because I had 850 grams, which is what is recommended in the pattern for the size extra large. So I was more serene during the knitting process, that I would not run out of yarn, even though I'd gone up a couple of sizes from what the original plan was. So that was good. The thing is, I decided to switch sizes while I had still knit what I had before I'd started knitting, obviously, because he tried it on, and that's when we realized that it was a bit too small. So I was about halfway, like kind of like to his waist, when we realized that, yeah, it's too small. So I ended up ripping back to the end of, just before you join at the underarm, you join in the round at the underarm. And so because up until then I had knit the size extra small, not extra small, what am I talking about? The size medium, I did a little bit of witchery to just get to the stitch count of the size extra large. It wasn't that many extra stitches, so it was all right. But yeah, so I did that. And it worked great. Like, it worked just fine. The size extra large was a great fit. It grew a little bit with blocking, which I think gave it a little bit of a better fit. And yeah, so that worked really well. Once you've joined under the arms, really, then it's just a matter of knitting to the length that you want. And so, yeah, so I'm really pleased that I ripped back, even though it was quite a bit of knitting. I'm pleased that I did that, and so now he's got something that fits really well, because that's kind of the goal anyway. Like, if I'm going to spend all that time knitting a jumper for me or for anybody else, I want it to fit, because if it doesn't fit, like, we're not going to wear it, and that will have been a whole waste. So yeah. All right, so another thing that I did, another modification that I did on this pattern, and this I did from the start, it was always my intention to do that, is that has to do with the zipper. So basically, the pattern tells you, so if you look at this, so the pattern tells you basically to knit flat the whole length of the zipper opening, and then you join in around a little bit. You join the yoke in around when you're done with the zipper opening, and then you join you join under the sleeves later, but that's just a normal raglan. I was really concerned that the change in my gauge from knitting flat to knitting in the round would show. I managed by going down a needle size or two, I don't remember, on the purl, the needles that you use to purl your stitches onto. I would have been okay not rowing out on the flat part, but I think that my gauge flat and my gauge knitting in the round would be a little bit different, and so they would kind of be a line, or it would show basically that difference, and I really didn't want to do that. It would have bothered me so much seeing that. So what I decided to do is I decided to steek the zipper opening. I'd never done a steek before, but I watched a few videos and it didn't seem too complicated. So what I did is basically you start with the collar, so I knit that flat because it's ribbing, so it's fine. Then you fold the collar down, and then you're supposed to do your short rows, and then start the yoke flat. And what I did is that when I started the yoke, I created here where the zipper is a panel of steek stitches because I'd never done it before. I wasn't really sure how much I was supposed to put there, so I think I cast on 16 stitches, which is definitely overkill. I definitely did not need to do that, but it was peace of mind, so it was all right. And then I just cut what I didn't need later on when I opened the steek. And that meant that I was able to knit everything in the round, and it was so much better. I am so happy that I did that. And then what happened with the steek stitches is that, so I cut it and then I folded the little panel that you keep, and I hid it. It's encased under the zipper facing. So I don't have many stitches. I have about maybe 2 or 3 stitches on the edge of my steek, which is not a ton, but I reinforced it with the sewing machine. And then I sewed the zipper onto that, and then it is covered by the zipper facing. So it is really secure in there. I have no concern whatsoever that it's going to come off or whatever. So yeah, so that's what I did, and it went well. It wasn't very complicated. I did do, like I said, a sewing machine reinforcement just in case, but honestly, if you cut vertically, your stitches are not going to go anywhere. But yeah, you can always do a little bit of a reinforcement if, for peace of mind, if it makes you feel better. It definitely did make me feel better because I'd never done it before. And this yarn, because it's got alpaca in it, it's really, really soft. It's not really one of those grippy yarns like Shetland wool and stuff that you use in color work and that stuff. So, just to be safe. And then I know my husband is wearing it, and so he's not necessarily, because he doesn't know all the details of how it's made and everything, he's not particularly careful around the zipper in the way that maybe I would be. So I just wanted something that was really nice and sturdy, and that I felt confident that it wouldn't go anywhere. And I think I've achieved it. I gifted it to my husband about a week ago. I think it just took a while to dry and everything, and he's pretty much worn it every day since. I've had to kindly ask him to take it off for the podcast. So he's not waiting naked behind the door, but he's got other sweaters. But yeah, it's it's on him all the time, and he really loves the rolled neck. Keeps him really warm. It means that he doesn't really have to wear a scarf or a cowl or anything like this when he goes out. He just zips it up, and then his coat zips up as well, and it's just fine. So, and it's just super warm. He finds it really warm, probably the warmest one that he's got. I am, just because he's very hard wearing on his sweaters and stuff, which is great. Like he wears them a ton, and so obviously they show signs of wear. Because it's alpaca and quite soft, I can see that it started to like peel a little bit under the arms at least, which I fully expected, so I don't have a problem with that. And when it peels a bit more, I'll just get like a thing to remove the bubbles. And then I'm just going to keep an eye regularly on the elbows, because a few of his other wool sweaters, stuff that he'd bought, not stuff that I made, but it was still 100% wool and all that, always end up wearing out at the elbows. And so I've had to put elbow patches on quite a few of his sweaters. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that to make sure that right now it's fine, but to make sure that as soon as we see a sign of wear, to put elbow patches on it before there's a hole. You know, you don't want that. So yeah, I'll just show you one last time, but I think that's all I have to say. And so yeah, if you're like, I really like this pattern, and it's always, the one thing that's always a bit bothered me a bit was that, you know, knitting flat while you do the zipper opening and then joining in the round and having that difference in tension and it showing and everything. And I'm really glad that I sticked it, and if I do it again, or I will do it again, for me, I will definitely stick it again. And it's super easy, and I would highly recommend doing that as well if you'd like. It's not complicated at all. And yeah, I will say that inserting the zipper is a bit fiddly, but it's kind of fiddly, but also like because you're sewing into wool and it's not always easy, and you have to pin it and make sure everything sits flat and everything. So it's just a thing where you need to go slow and take your time, but it's not unpleasant. It's a nice task. I liked doing it, and I just put some podcasts and some stuff on YouTube, and, you know, took my time and to do it, and it worked out really well. I'm really, really pleased with how neat I was able to get it. So yes, that is my third finished object, and I just have one more. Okay, my fourth and final finished object is a pair of socks. I think I was knitting on it the last time I recorded. They've been finished for a while, and they've just spent, I think, the last month or so on sock blockers hanging on the shelf, so I didn't wear them before I recorded next. So yes, they are thoroughly blocked, and it's just a pair of vanilla socks. So the yarn that I'm using was a sock set from Giddy Yarn. It is your kind of basic hand-dyed sock yarn, 75-25 merino, superwash merino nylon, and the colorway is called, what is the colorway? It's a Beatrix Potter. It's a Beatrix Potter thing. Do I have it in here? Yeah. The Tale of Jeremy Fisher. The Tale of Jeremy Fisher, that's what it's called. And I'd had it in my stash for a little while and decided to knit it, and I'm really, really pleased with how it came out. I think I was mentioning last time what I really like about Giddy Yarn is that, or Helen, the dyer behind Giddy Yarns, is that she offers her sock sets as 100-gram main skein and 20-gram mini, but also as 50-gram main skein and 20-gram minis. And to me, that's enough. I am a UK size 6.5, which is a EU 39, and I can get a pair of socks out of 70 grams of yarn total. And so I just love that, because then I hardly have any leftover at the end, as opposed to when you use a 100-gram skein of sock yarn, I always have so much leftover. I don't have enough to make another pair, but I still have a lot, and I never really know what to do with it. And so I just appreciate that that option is available. And I really like the color of this one. And yeah, it's very pretty. Again, just my basic vanilla socks. So 2x2 rib. Sometimes I do 1x1, depends on my mood. I guess I was inspired to do 2x2. I think I do that for about 15 rounds. And then the leg is 50 rounds, I think. I do a heel flap and gusset with like a slip stitch heel flap, and then a round toe. And then the foot, the length of the foot kind of depends. I guess it varies a little bit on my depending on my gauge and my tension. So I usually, I don't have a set number of rounds that I do for the foot. I just measure it on the sock ruler every time. And yeah, so that is all I have to say. And that is the last of my finished objects. All right, moving on now to my works in progress. I've got 3. One of them you have seen already. I've barely touched it because I've been so busy. Well, not so busy, but because I've prioritized working on my husband's sweater, I haven't really touched that one too much. But yeah, it is my Sophie hood, the Sophie hood by Petite. And this is where I am. So it looks kind of funny. It's very clever construction, but right now it looks kind of funny. So this is what it looks like. So basically I'm just a little bit over half. So this kind of dent here, or like funny point, that's half. And so basically it looks like this. And then the rest is kind of like the Sophie scarf and the Sophie shawl. So I've done the one half. Now I'm doing basically the same in reverse. And I think, so that's the hood. And then, so part of that is sewn, like the 2 halves are sewn together. And yeah, I haven't read that far. But it is very enjoyable. I really want to finish it soon because I would like to be able to wear it this winter still. So I'm not casting on anything new until I finish my current whips, that's for sure, even though I have really nice sweater pattern that is calling my name. But I'm not casting it on until I finish this. But yeah, I don't really have much to say. I'm knitting the second size. So there's 3 size, small, medium, and large. So I'm knitting the medium size, which has to do with the length. I think I'm on gauge. I haven't really swatched because I know that I have more than enough yarn. I am knitting this, like I said, yeah, as per pattern, same needle size, which I think is 5 millimeters. And yes, it's nice, it's fun. The yarn I'm using is this beautiful yarn that I bought when I went to Dublin in October. It is so beautiful. I love it so much. It's the deep gray with a lot of tweedy bits of all sorts of colors. It's just so nice. And this is by Studio Donegal. That's the label. And it is, so it's Aran weight, 200 meters per 100 grams. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. I don't really have much to say because it's quite easy. I just can't wait to knit it. And I think if I enjoy the finished product and if I enjoy wearing it, if I actually do wear it, I have some leftover yarn from my Evina cardigan, if you remember, a light green yarn, which is a combination of a woolly knit British wool and also a easier mohair. And I think I have enough leftover of that to do another Sophie hood, the medium, maybe even large size. And I really like that shade of green. So I think I probably would do that and would make another one to use up those leftovers. But yeah. Sorry. So yeah, that is my first work in progress, which is I'm gonna work on it at some point. My second work in progress, I mentioned I hadn't started it last time, but I had talked about it. It is a pair of socks, and it's called the Riverbank Socks by Laurie of the Knitting Burrow. And I'd mentioned it because she had very kindly gifted me the pattern, and she had also very kindly offered to gift the pattern to one of you. So to enter, you left comments in my previous video, and so I have picked the winner just using a random comment picker. And so the winner is One Marathon Girl 61. I'll put it on the screen. So congratulations. If you could get in touch with me via email, which is bubblesandberries@gmail.com, with either your Ravelry username, if you use Ravelry, or your email address, and then I'll forward that on to the designer so she can send you a copy of the pattern. It is a very nice pattern, so yeah, congratulations again. And I have been knitting it, so this is what I'm working on. I am making a pair for my mum, and this is what it looks like so far. I'm about at the same stage of both socks, and this is what it looks like. So it is a sock with a subtle cable pattern on one side. It's so pretty. It is inspired by The Wind in the Willow, which is a lovely book, which I absolutely love. So yeah, the pattern is super easy to follow. It's really well written, and it's just a really simple cable. It's not complicated at all. So if you've never done cables, that's actually a good way to get started. And yeah, I'm just like knitting down the foot now. I have done a heel flap and gusset, which I think is what is in the pattern, but I guess you can do whatever heel you like. The cuff is a 1x1 cuff. And the yarn that I am using, also it's not, I'll show you the yarn in a second, but it's nice because it's like nicely mirrored. So the cable bit is, I guess, on the outer side of your leg or on the inner side if you want. But yeah, the socks are mirrored, which is quite nice. And the yarn that I'm using for this is, I'm pulling at either end, so I have it attached on both ends. It's this beautiful blue yarn. And this is by the Woolly Chicken. I bought this again when I was in Dublin at the Dublin Fibre Festival. It is, so the Woolly Chicken is a hen dyer in Germany. And this is a merino and silk blend, which is what my mom wanted. I'd made her a pair of socks out of that yarn base in the past, and I was struggling to find that base again, and she really loves that other pair of socks, so when I found this, I definitely got it. This is the shade Denim, and it is a fingering weight yarn. And yeah, it's really fun to knit. It's nice. Like most of the rows are really simple, kind of like a vanilla sock, and then every now and then you have that little cable. So it's easy, it's mindless, but it's also just that right amount of engaging, I guess. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the pattern. I'm really enjoying the yarn. I could definitely see myself making a pair for me, like making it again and having a pair for me. It'll look nicer, obviously, when it's blocked and stretched out a bit, but it is very nice. So yes, that is the Riverbank socks. Thank you again for gifting me the pattern, and congratulations to the person who won a copy of the pattern. This is my main focus at the moment because I really want to post it to my mom before it gets too warm, and because she lives in the south of France, so soon it will get too warm for her to wear woolly socks. So I really want to send that before we get to that point. So yeah. And then last but not least, my last work in I have 2 works in progress. Sorry, I have another 2. Right, okay. So I thought I had 4 and I only had 3 next to me, and I couldn't remember what the 4th was. And because I finished a project recently, I was like, oh, maybe it's just 3 now, but it's not. I have 4. So yeah. So my 3rd work in progress is a scarf. I have finally figured out what I wanted to do with my advent calendar from 2024. I didn't get a yarn advent calendar this year, but the one from last year was from Zakami. It's beautiful. The yarn is baby llama. It is super, super soft. And it has been, I've had it in my stash and I've looked at it for a whole year, and I just couldn't figure out what to do with it because I wanted to knit something that would use up all of it. I didn't want to have any leftovers. I didn't want to do one of those patterns where you end up only using 10 grams of each mini, and then you're just basically back where you started, because you still have half an advent calendar to use up. So, and it took me forever to find the right pattern. And in the end, I found, let me see, I don't remember by Emma. Sorry if you hear all the noise over there. I just have my notebook and I'm just ruffling pages. It's the Advent Scarf by Emma Carter. I think she's Emma C. Knits on Instagram. And yeah, it is a scarf, and it's basically a striped scarf where you just knit in the round, and that's it. And it's just brilliant because it's genius, because you can just knit until you finish that mini skein and then move on to the next one, and then it's fingering weight, so you can even, I feel like you can even switch yarn whenever you end it without necessarily having to do it at the beginning of round, because it's such small stitches that you really don't see the little jog, and you can also try and do the jogless thing if you want. And yeah, it's very nice, very mindless. I'm knitting mine, so I think I'm knitting mine on small needles. I'm losing the light and I can't really see. I'm on 3mm needles. I think she's doing on 3.5 maybe. But I find the llama yarn is it's almost like a light fingering, and it's also very drapey and everything. So I don't know, it felt like it fitted my yarn better. I didn't swatch or anything. There's not really any point. And then you start with the Judy Magic cast on until you have about the length or like the width that you want. I think I have about 30 something centimeters here, which is fine. And yeah, and so basically what I did, so the advent calendar came as kind of like a fade, but I mixed the colors in a way that I enjoy, and I just started knitting. So I've done the four, well, I have a little bit left of the fourth color, so that's where I'm at. And then I'm gonna grab the other colors and show you. I think for me, I cast on 100 stitches in the Judy Magic cast on, so I have 200 stitches total in the round. And let me just grab the mini skeins. And so this is what I have. Let me see if I can just bring this. So this is what it's going to be. The next color is going to be this one. The next color is going to be this kind of color. So it's going in this direction from, I don't know, in this direction. So yeah, that's what it's going to look like. As there are some colors that are kind of hidden, maybe a little bit. I mean, you're going to see this for a while because it's not really a priority project. I'm totally see myself like spending the rest of the year knitting on this here and there. It's not something that I intend to make and wear this winter. So yeah, so I'm so happy that I finally found something to do or to make with that advent, because it was really making me a bit sad because it's so beautiful. I'm not a big fan of all those of like advent patterns used for garment, or like the garments that come out using advents and like stripy like cardigans and stuff is not really my thing. Because the yarn is so soft, I really wanted to do like a shawl or a scarf or something like that. I didn't want to, it felt a bit like it would be a little bit wasted in a blanket. But then a lot of the shawls that I found, like I liked them, but again, they don't use all of the mini skeins. You always have leftovers, which I really don't want. So I'm super happy. It's super easy. It's a free pattern also, by the way. It's a free pattern, but also you kind of almost don't need a pattern. And yeah, I think it's going to look great. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to look really, really nice once it's done. And it's going to be quite big, so plenty to wrap around. So yeah. All right, and now my actual final work in progress. It's a hat, the same hat I showed you before. Not the most exciting, but I'm enjoying it, so, you know. And this is, do I have the yarn label? Hold on. I am so not prepared for this. Oh, there it is. So this is, again, the basic beanie or basic rib beanie by Tin Can Knit. And, oh, tangles. I am doing once again, the 2x2 rib. I just like the look of it. I'm also doing, once again, the size adult medium, and I'm doing it, I'm doing it on DK. I'm not doing it on worsted this time. And this is what it looks like so far. I haven't done much, but this is what it looks like. It's a really, really nice color. And so the yarn that I'm using is one that I had in stash. I just had the one ball. I didn't really know what to do with it. It was actually gifted to me by one of you, a viewer who sent me a bunch of yarn that they no longer wanted and thought that it would be kind of like my colors and I would enjoy it, which I really am. So thank you so much. And it is this yarn. This is a Durham yarn. Hold on, let me show you the label. This is Durham Gilead, so it is their DK, 250 meters per 100 gram. It's very bouncy, the Durham one. And this is the color Amarant, so I guess Amaranth or something. I don't really know. It is a very nice, it's almost purple, but not really purple. And kind of like, it's a bit more purpley than what it looks on my screen right now. But yeah, it's a very unusual color and a very beautiful one. So I think it will look very nice paired with like a gray, like a really pale gray scarf or something like that. And it's so squishy. I mean, Durham Natura yarn is like always super bouncy and squishy. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And it's a really nice, like mindless knit. So this is kind of my out and about knit at this one, because yeah, it's just ribbing in the round until I have to do the decreases, which I'm nowhere near at this point. So yes, here we are. All of my knits, what I finished over the past, I guess, couple of months or so, and what I'm currently working on. Next, I will talk about the books that I am reading. I'm not going to talk about all the books that I've read since my last episode, because I've read quite a few and I don't remember them all. But I will talk about the one that I really enjoyed during that time, and then the one that I'm reading at the moment. All right, so one of the books that I read over the past couple of months and that I really enjoyed was The Queen Who Came In From the Cold by S.J. Bennet. This is part of a murder mystery series where the Queen of England, like Elizabeth II, the former Queen of England, the Queen, investigate crime. But obviously she's the Queen, so she can't just, like do it in the open. So she has her assistant private secretary working with her. And I've been reading that series ever since the first book came out. I think this is either the fourth or the fifth book, and I really enjoyed them all. And I've really enjoyed, because when the author started this series, the Queen was still alive. She was alive, I think, for the first 2 or 3 books, but then she died. And I've really enjoyed how the author has dealt with that, because whereas before it used to be kind of just a cozy murder mystery, now it is also it is a cozy historical murder mystery, because she's gone back into the past. Just, like not to continue a series from where the main character is someone who's just died and things like that. And I think she's handled it really, really well, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So I would definitely recommend that series if you are looking for something to read. And then what I'm currently reading, I wanted something very cozy, very comforting, and also comforting in the sense of like I wanted to go back to a world I knew and enjoyed. So I'm reading the 6th book in the Knit and Nibble series by Peggy Ehrhart. It's not the best written book out there. It's not, the greatest literary, like there are other books that are better written, I would say. But it is very enjoyable. I really enjoyed the world she's created, and I just find it really fun. And it's not one of those series where when I finish a book, I really want to read the next one right away. It is one that I enjoy going back to every now and then, having read other books in between. It's really like a comfort read, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The 6th one is called Knit of the Living Dead, and it's set around Halloween time. So yeah, it's nice. It's fun. I think probably a lot of you have read at least one of them in this series, and yeah, it's very cozy and very comforting, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, that's what I've been reading. Let me know in the comments if you have any book recommendations, or if you would like to share what you have been reading this year, or what you would like to read. If you have a book or two that you absolutely want to read in 2026, I would love to hear that, and it will also provide inspiration for other people maybe. Like always read each other's comment, because there's always some good ideas and tips, and it's always fun. So yes, feel free to share in the comments what you've been reading if you would like to. All right. And then we're almost done. I feel like I've been talking so much. I have no idea how long this episode is going to be. But yeah, to finish off this episode, I was gonna, like I mentioned at the beginning, I was just gonna talk for a little bit about what's going on with, hold on, is my husband going to answer the door? All right, that was just a door. I think my husband got it. Also, the neighbor upstairs is doing God knows what, so I don't know. I hope the mic is not picking it up, and if it is, I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what this noise is. But yeah, so like I was saying, I just wanted to quickly talk about some changes that are going on in my professional life, and I want to share them because I'm really excited about them, and I want to share that with you, and also because it is going to impact my shop, and obviously I want to share that with you as well. I have decided to change jobs and change careers. So if you are new here, I have been the person behind the Bubbles and Berries shop for a few years now. I think it's maybe three or 4 years that I've had this shop now, where I make hand embroidered stitch markers, and it's been brilliant. I have absolutely loved it, but I've kind of reached the end of that journey. I feel like the word journey is just used so much these days, but yeah, I've kind of reached the end of that path in the sense that thanks to all of you, the shop has grown like really nicely. But right now it has reached the point where it's become too much for me to do by myself. And so the only way that I feel like I can continue and meet the demand and all of that would be to hire someone to help me. And the thing is that it's definitely not something that I want to do. I don't want to have to deal with like employing people and all of that. The reason why I started this shop in the first place, and yeah, it's just that I want to work for myself, by myself, in my home studio, in my little like quiet space, and I don't want to work with people like colleagues or whatever. That just like I've done this in the past, and I just enjoy working by myself a lot more. So that's that, and also it's starting to take a toll on my body and my back and my hands, because I'm literally spending 8 hours a day embroidering tiny stitch markers. So it is time for a change. And what I have decided to do is kind of what I've always been wanting to do, like in my whole life, but I don't know, for a million different reasons I never did, is to become an illustrator. So I have always drawn, and it's always been like something I've loved, and I don't know why I didn't take it seriously and like to a professional, or like turned it into a job before, but it just didn't happen. But yeah, this is what I've decided to do it now, to give myself a real good chance at at working as an illustrator. And more specifically, I guess my end goal is to make picture books, to work in like publishing, or like be like a picture book illustrator. But I also love the versatility of what you can do as an illustrator, and I am currently working on, and very excited to be working on, creating bits like stationery, like notepads and greeting cards, and things like that. So yeah, it's all in the very, very early stages. It's just all about a lot of planning at the moment and a lot of setting things up. That is kind of my goal for the first quarter of 2026, is to really set a lot of things up, draw a lot of things, open a little shop, and like, yeah, I'm just, again, like, it's the start, but it makes me really happy. I made this decision I started really taking illustration seriously and really getting back into it a year ago. And then about like 6 to 8 months ago, I decided to do this professionally. And so for the past 6 to 8 months, I've been kind of doing a lot of practicing to improve my skills, and then doing a lot of research about how could I make this a job. And yeah, and now I'm at a point where, okay, now I need to actually do and act on all the ideas that I've had. So yes, if you are curious, if you would like to follow me on this journey, you are more than welcome to. I'd love to have you here. I will put a QR code on the screen that goes to, that will take you to my Linktree, which is basically a place where you have all the places where I am present online as an illustrator. I have an Instagram page. It's called @thistleandpine_illustration. I have my own website, and at the moment I have a Substack, which is a newsletter basically, which I'm currently trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with it. I've sent a few, but I'm really right now figuring out what I want to do with this newsletter and what I want to write about and all of that. So feel free to subscribe to that if you'd like to. And then I am seriously considering starting another YouTube channel specifically about illustration. It would be more like vlogs and art things. But yeah, I haven't started that yet because I need to do more planning and more thinking, but that's definitely something that I'm considering quite seriously. So yeah, this is what is happening in my professional life right now. What does this mean for Bubbles and Berries? What does this mean for my shop? It means that yes, eventually I am going to close my shop. I have not closed my shop just yet. What I am doing right now is my shop is always quieter in winter. So I am taking advantage of that this year to really take that time to focus on building the foundation of my illustration business and of my illustration, or my professional life as an illustrator. So the shop is temporarily on pause, but I do plan to reopen it in the spring. I don't know exactly when just yet, but I will let you know as soon as I do, and I will send out a newsletter as soon as I know. So yeah, don't worry, I'll let you know as soon as I do. And I don't know yet also how long I'm going to keep it open after that, but I really want to do as much, unless something makes it really not possible, I really want to do at least 1 or 2 final shop updates to, give people a chance to order stitch markers if they want to, and not out of the blue be like, bye-bye, I don't, the shop is closed and that's that, So this is really something that is important to me. So there could be stuff that happens that means that I can't reopen the shop. It's always a possibility, but it's definitely not my plan. But yeah, again, plans are a bit right now, I'm figuring out a lot of things, so bear with me. But as soon as I have information about stitch markers in the shop, I will tell you here on my Bubbles and Berries newsletter. I will also put it on my Bubbles and Berries Instagram, and then everything that has to do with illustration, then they're on my other accounts, because obviously not everyone is interested in both. So yeah, and the podcast, the knitting podcast, this podcast is not going anywhere. Even after I've closed the shop, even after even when I am working illustration, doing illustration full time, the podcast it's fun. It's a hobby the way my knitting is a hobby, and so I don't plan for that to go anywhere. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any concern about the shop and about stitch markers, if you wanted some and all of that, please let me know. But like I say, I'm just taking a little break right now. I'm just using my time in the best way possible. So I'm taking advantage of the winter season always being quite slow with my stitch marker shop to spend all of my time doing my illustration work and business. And then once all of that is more in place and I have a bit of a clearer view of what I'm doing, then I do intend to reopen the shop. I don't know for how long, but at least for, you know, a little bit, just to not disappear on people out of nowhere, you know, without warning or anything. So yeah, this was, I guess, this is my big news. I guess it's like, it probably doesn't matter to a lot of you. It's not a big news to anybody else but me, but yeah, it is my big news, and it's something that I love. Like I've really, really loved doing this. So the past 6 to 8 months I've been doing like part-time. So half of my month I was doing stitch markers and the other half I was doing illustration. And it was really hard to do both at the same time. It was just like, there's so much creative energy and creative like brain power that needs to go into both that it was a struggle to switch between the two all the time. But when I was when I was in illustration mode, I really, really enjoyed it, and I still do right now. I'm doing it full time. Since the January, I'm doing this full time, and I just love it so much. I love the drawing itself, but I also love the diversity of tasks in my day. Like I'm not sitting 8 hours a day making the exact same thing all the time like I did with stitch markers. And yeah, I really love it, and I'm happy and I'm proud of myself for just saying like, yeah, this is what I've always wanted to do, and life has happened and I've had to make different choices, and sometimes I didn't even think about it. It kind of gotten forgotten in the midst of everything else, and now I'm just happy to like finally give it a good shot. This is kind of what I've always wanted to do, and I'm finally giving it a good shot. So yeah, I'm really excited. I could show you a couple of things that I've made. So if you've ordered from me over the past few months, let me grab it. I had created, among other things, a couple of sheep and knitting themed illustration, and I've had those printed on my thank you cards. So some of you have received those when you've ordered, and so I have this one, which I think is really cute, and then I have this one, and then also in the autumn I did a commission for the Fiber Yard, so the yarn shop that I was telling you about, and they asked me to create a couple of illustrations for them. One depicting the inside of their shop, and then one depicting a fiber yard in the sense of like animals producing fiber in a yard, like in a pen. And they're using these on cards and project bags and stickers that you can buy from the shop. And so this is the one with the animals that I did. And then this is the one that looks like the inside of their shop. It's super cozy in there. So yeah, so that is what is happening, and I'm really excited, and yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm really happy about this change. So yeah, no regrets about the stitch markers at all. That's been brilliant. I've learned so much, and it's been like a wonderful job to have. But yeah, it's reached the end, so, and that's okay. So yeah, that is all I have to say for this very long, probably, episode. I'm so glad that I took the time today to record again. I'd really missed it. And yeah, I will see you next time. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're enjoying your knitting or your crocheting or your crafting. And I will see you in the comments. Let's chat in the comments, and then I will see you in my next episode. Bye!